Salutations, utopians. Hope all is well in your world. Um, Wanted to talk a little bit about the Dario Saric, Jonas Valanciunas saga that's going on in Denver. Um, there was a swap, uh, and it was funny because Dario Saric was going to be rerouted possibly for Jonathan Kuminga on the Warriors. Um, but there's reports that Jonas wants to go overseas, play in Europe, and the Nuggets want him to honor his deal. I'm gonna be honest with you. I tried to be positive and be part of the hype train. I just can't do it. First and foremost, the off-season moves that the Nuggets made haven't detracted from what Josh Kroenke was saying, the owner of the Nuggets. If an injury does happen, they're not gonna fall in the second apron uh, and waste Jokic prime. Luka kind of normalized now super mega star franchise young players getting moved. I consider Jokic still young. Um, he's made it clear they just don't have the resources to keep him around if a serious injury happens. This week, obviously, this offseason, they made the move for trading MPJ for Cam Johnson. I would have liked to see them get Cam Thomas also, ISO wing who can create for themselves, and have Christian Braun come off the bench. They also got former Nugget Bruce Brown off free agency, Gary Harris, who was also originally a Nugget. Um, who's probably seen his better days behind him. I do think Tim Hardaway has the best opportunity of his career joining the Nuggets, but I don't think it's enough to compete with the Houstons, to compete with, the Lakers, and definitely not the Thunder for that matter, with what they assembled. Furthermore, the backup point guard situations are concerned. Doesn't look like there's mutual interest between the Nuggets and Westbrook to return. Um, but I understand why Jonas wants to abruptly leave, kind of like former Chicago Bull Chris Mirotic did at one point. The NBA, as I mentioned in my last video, is getting to be very questionable and undesirable to international players. Ironically, NBA wants to go to Europe, so this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because if Europe, if this club in particular wants to strong arm their way into getting him, uh, that belongs in the EuroLeague, this could be a huge court battle. I don't know if the NBA should be yearning for Jonas Valanciunas anyway, but it's interesting because maybe they're in their mind, this is the way they're pushing to keep Jonas on their roster. It leads me to believe that it's inevitable that Jokic is going to get traded, and they're telling him that it's going to be your franchise and you're making good money, and so why would you want to leave? And Jonas doesn't want to inherit that depressing uh, graveyard known as the Denver Nuggets when that time comes. Obviously, you don't just replace Jokic. Jokic is a big international star. He's beloved even in Japan. I remember I was covering the draft, and some of the Japanese people were telling me why not, you know, post highlights from the playoff game. I said today's the NFL draft. I love the NFL draft, but he's loved over there, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I just think at the end of the day, uh, Jonas is seeing the writing on the wall for the Nuggets, and he doesn't want to be the person left to pick up the pieces. Obviously, he doesn't play the same entertaining brand of ball at the level that Jokic does, and also he's known as a reputable international player, and being a backup is a demotion for him and his legacy in the NBA. He's been known to be, whether people want to put him in that Vlade Divac category, he's an inspiration to the people that he grew up in, the country he grew up in. And backing up Jokic is not on his bingo card. Now, let me be very clear. We're seeing more teams go to double big lineups, i.e. Dallas with Davis and Gafford and Lively. You're seeing it last year with the Rockets with Steve Adams and Segun. Um, Teams are starting to use double big lineups again in the NBA, and I'm sure there will be some coexisting. But for him, he's like, I don't want to be the guy holding. I mean, Jonas did it last year with Sabonis, and they looked pretty good with the Kings last year. But Jonas doesn't want to be known as international big man backups to Sabonis and Jokic. He feels like he's been shortchanged out of his career because he deserves it. You got to remember, before the Kings last year and that disaster, he was with the Wizards. the worst of the worst franchises. And so for him, you can see why he wants to stray away. But also, why would he want to inherit the garbage that it could potentially become if Denver does have their hand forced and move off Jokic? Something to think about. This seems like they're inching closer to a separation, though. All right, Utopians. Hope I was informative. Try to do better next time. Global out.